Hey guys, it's Oxygen Films bringing you the first episode of Indie Talks. This show is all about having a talk with indie artists and promoting their work.
Today we have Sahil Makhija, aka the Demon Stealer. He is frontman of the band Demonic Resurrection. Welcome Sahil to our show Indie Talks.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us Sahil, how you got into metal music?
Well, I was always listening to English music as a kid. My parents are quite into the 60s and 70s music and the 80s pop and that kind of stuff. So I grew up listening to a lot of that stuff. There was Pink Floyd, The Doors, The Beatles, Bee Gees. And somewhere along the way in school I got into pop music actually. A lot of techno and a lot of pop music. I think it was the early 90s and the boy bands were just becoming a big thing. Spice Girls and all. So I was into all that kind of stuff, and a friend of mine, sort of gave me an Iron Maiden CD and said, just stop listening to that crap and listen to this. And from then on there was no turning back, I mean, I just got hooked onto metal since then.
Sahil, tell us about your first band or your first musical project.
My first real musical project was sort of just after I finished school. It was a group of us, I think 12 or 13 friends, and we all said, okay, let's learn the guitar or drums and form a band or something. Obviously not everyone went through with it, but me and my friend Sunil, we got together and we started a band called Slaves of Pain.
Wow.
Which was named after a Sepultura song.
Okay.
I mean, we did write a couple of songs. It was just him on guitar and me doing vocals. And I think we even had a second guitarist join us at some point. We used to sit with that 2-in-1 tape recorder and use that to record. Nothing very serious, just jamming, and we could never find a drummer. I was in Jain college and there were not too many musicians there, not too many heavy metal musicians at least. So just the two of us jammed for a while. He lost interest after some time, but I continued with my quest to find band members. And I had already decided, in fact I had a website even then called, my nickname then was Cyberfly.
Wow.
Because Makhi means fly. So Cyberfly, and I had a website, and on that website I had even put up a note saying I'm looking to form a band called Demonic Resurrection, and we will cover Judas Priest, Death, and Sepultura and Panther and all these big names and all. And I kept looking for members, and it took about 2 years, and finally in 2000 I was able to get some sort of a band lineup together.
After 2 years of your college, you formed Demonic Resurrection. So what was lineup back then?
After 2 years of being in college, looking for members, I had no luck. 98, 99, no luck. I was fed up by the end of it. We were just entering 2000. I was like, okay, chuck this. I'm going to go on stage with my computer. Because I was anyway writing all the songs with Fruity Loops at that point. And I was like, okay, I can just pack my PC, take it, put it on stage, keep it there, press spacebar and start it and play along and sing. It'll be cool. And then I ran into Prashant Shah, who was also from my school, a friend of mine, but he was one batch senior. And he had just come back from the US and he was playing guitar. He had done 3 months at MI and he was killing it. Like, he was riffing and shredding. And I was like, oh man, okay, look, will you play in Demonic Resurrection? And he's like, yeah, sure man. And I was like, we still need a drummer and a guitar player and another guitar player and he was like, okay, cool, I know Aditya from school. Aditya was also in our school. He was in Prashant's batch. And he said, Aditya plays guitar so he can join. And Aditya knew Yash, who he had found in the lane. He was walking by the building and he heard Yash playing Dandiya drums from his house. And he met him at some point, gave him Slayer or Metallica and converted him into a metalhead.
Okay.
So the three of them joined me to form Demonic Resurrection. And I had a friend called Farad in my tuitions who played keyboards. So I asked him to play keys on the band, and that's how DR was kind of formed,
So Sahil, tell me about your first official gig.
So the first gig DR ever played was in Raz Rhino. I had already kind of fixed up that I wanted to play a show and go with the computer and stuff. And we got the lineup together. The show was on April 6th. I was learning drums from Ervi Vaz at that point. and he played for Naked Earth. So they used to do shows regularly at Raz. And you know, I spoke to him when we co-organized this gig. We got Scepter and Metakicks also to play.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, we organized it ourselves. I had my board exams, I remember, so I couldn't jam with the band.
Okay.
So for 15 days, I remember Aditya, Prashant and Yash were jamming. And I joined them with Farhad on April 1st. And for 5 days straight, we jammed, and April 6th, we played the show. So, you know, that was the first gig. And after that, I mean, I used to just organize my own shows at Raz, basically, whenever we wanted to do a gig. And also at that time, you know, there was Death Fest, which started, which was the first death metal festival, proper one in Bombay. And they had us open the show that year, the first year in 2000. Okay. So, I mean, you know, things happened. We traveled to National Law School in Bangalore to play that year. We played at IIT. You know, then there were a couple of guys who started organizing gigs in Pune. They called us over. So, I mean, we just basically played wherever it was possible.
There has been many lineup changes in Demonic Resurrection. So how did that happen?
In the beginning, I guess it was just, you know, I was like, this is my band. I'm going to make sure we play every show possible. It doesn't matter who's there or not there. This is going to happen. So, I mean, the second gig itself, Prashant went back to the US. Farhad went to Singapore for a holiday. And there was a gig. And I was doing only vocals during the first show. So I was like, okay, we have to do the show. So I learned to play guitar and sing by that time. So I did guitars, Aditya did guitars, and Yash played drums.
Okay.
And the gig after that, which was Death Fest, we had Farhad come back. We had a new bass player join us.
Okay.
And we had Nikita on female vocals. So from 3-piece it went to like a 6-piece. So, you know, it was just basically make the show happen at any cost. Obviously, over the years, as you become more of a band, you know, members are more focused. They last for a little longer. So obviously the lineup changes are less. But I guess at the end of the day, everyone has a path to follow, you know. You can't really, at least in a situation where someone has formed a band and is sort of carrying it on, members are always going to come and go. It's a little different when it's like 4 friends who got together and formed a band, and it's done that way, you know. So for DR, lineup changes are inevitable, but you know, at the end of the day, as they say, the show must go on.
So, where Demonic Resurrection used to jam, and how you guys used to deal with your neighbors?
Yeah, back in the day, we had no jam rooms. I mean, it was generally you would jam at the drummer's house.
Yeah.
But in our case, Yash was had a conservative family who didn't want him to be playing rock music because they thought that was the reason he was smoking and drinking. When they don't realize that it's just kids who want to smoke and drink, you can't stop them. So we jammed on Prashant's terrace for the first gig, and after that we kind of shifted to my house. So we shifted Yash's kid to my bedroom here. I slept on the floor, my brother had the bed, because we had a pull-out bed at that time. And we practiced there. I mean, we had obviously complaints from the neighbors and things like that, but we would, you know, I would go to them, talk to them, I'd explain it to them, say just, you know, my hobby, this, that. And they allowed us to jam from 5 to 8 in the evenings.
Okay.
So that's how we managed. Then obviously, later on, you know, when the lineup changed and all that, at one point we were jamming at Hussein's house in Andheri.
Okay.
He had an empty house there and we would jam there during the weekends. Then we shifted to JP's jam room in Bhandup, which eventually he converted into a studio.
Okay.
And then at some point we moved back to my bedroom, but this time with an electronic drum kit.
Oh,
because
safe.
you could, no, never safe, because even then it's loud. You know? This is the whole band. But it was better because it was late in the nights. Everyone used to work in those days and finish work only at like 9 o'clock.
Okay.
And jam from like 10 to 11. And finally in 2010 I soundproofed my garage and started using that as our studio cum jam pad.
So, how did Workshop and Reptilian Death came in?
So Reptilian Death actually started out as a studio project back in 2000 only.
Okay.
The thing is, ever since I learned to record music on my own, apart from doing DR's music, I was always doing some other stuff, or, you know, whether it was just experimenting with electronic sounds in Fruity Loops or just doing an alternative song or anything. I just tried my hand at different things, and I remember back in the day I was listening to bands like Anal Cunt, Anal Blast, which were supposed to be funny bands, but death metal. Like, so they would have songs that were 3 seconds long, 4 seconds long, had very long but funny song names. I was like, yeah, this is cool, but let me show them how it's done. I was a cocky kid. I was like, let me show them what's really funny. So I did the first solo EP called 5 Easy Ways to Murder Someone.
Yeah.
Which was quite shit, but it had its own charm to it, And that's kind of how Reptilian Death was born. It was actually a spoof. It was not meant to be a serious band name. Reptilian Death was supposed to be funny. Obviously, as time went by, the band changed, the lineups changed, the music changed. It started out in 2001 when DR couldn't go to Bangalore for a gig.
Okay.
So I was like, I have to go and play NLS at any cost because I fell in love with that festival when I went. And so I got together like a 3-piece lineup, me on drums and vocals. Hussein, who was learning guitar from me, I knew he was not good enough to play guitar at that point. So I said, look, just play bass, play the root notes, it's very easy. Okay. Simple songs. So he said, okay. And I had a friend, JV, who played guitar. So I called him and said, can you play? And that's how RD was born as a live band. So for a while it sort of went between the serious death metal stuff and the spoofy kind of stuff. And then I think by around 2006 it kind of went full blown into the serious stuff, And it was around that time that ESP guitars came to India.
Yes.
And I was doing a workshop for them. So I don't know why, but I got in touch with Hamza and Riju, who I had met recently at, I think, RAIT. Riju was in Old Monks at that point, a classic rock band. And I had recorded some songs for them, and I think Hamza I had just met. So they seemed like the right guys to jam with, because I didn't want to do something very extreme. I wanted something maybe rockish, metalish. So I was like, okay, these guys will be able to play. So we wrote a few songs, we did these workshops, and Hamza really liked what was going down. So he actually, I think, chased me for almost 1 year. Saying, dude, let's form a band. And I think we did a spontaneous gig at KC College. Where we did those songs, I added lyrics on the spot. What became the song Pude Sarka, what became the song Pude Sarka was made up in the train while going to the college. Because there was a strike that day, there were no buses on the road. So we couldn't get from Thane station to the college. I mean, we were like, oh, we have to take an auto, and on those days we didn't have money also. I was like, auto. So the kids came on bikes and took us to the college. But Pude Sarka was the name. In fact, we were going to call it pant shirt. Like how Punjabi say pant chod. So pant shirt. I mean, that was supposed to be funny, but it was not. But Pude Sarka was the name we gave it then before going on stage. And after that, I told Hamza, look, okay, I'm okay to form a band, but let's do something different. Let's not just form a regular band. Let's have this. Because in those days, Riju and Hamza would not stop cracking jokes. They were like always trying to be funny. And it just came naturally to us, like being this comedy rock band. And I said, look, we have to get into a costume. We have to make this like a little bit more than just jeans and t-shirt on stage. So that's how Workshop was born.
So after your college, did you work somewhere to support your music career and to chip in some money for your band?
I actually never finished college. I dropped out in my FY BCom. I just realized college wasn't what I wanted to do. It had nothing to do with music. I definitely knew I wanted to do something with music. And at that time I did have plans to go to Chennai to School of Audio Engineering. But I just realized like going there for a year even would mean that the band would suffer. So I was like, I have to find a way to stay in Bombay. So I convinced my parents. I spoke to many sound engineers. I found out how much money you can earn after working and all that. And I found a job at Farhad Wadia's studio. And I think I was 19. This was in 2002. So I just started working, and I worked actually without a salary for I think a couple of years till I got enough experience. And my thing was very simple. I didn't want to party or do anything, so I would just basically save all the money I earned. And I made sure that I invested it in the band. I would record other bands and charge them money in my studio, and I would invest that back in the studio and the bands. So I did whatever it took to kind of make the financial aspect of it somehow sensible.
Demonic Resurrection has been into metal scene from past 15 years. It has been a lot of hard work and struggle. Can you share your experience with all the metalheads aspiring to make it big?
Oh, wow, I mean there's so much that's happened. I mean it's very difficult to sum up 15 years in just one answer. I mean we've been writing music for 15 years. We've released 4 albums. We've gone and toured in Europe and the UK. And to just be very honest, I mean, it's still a struggle. We have nowhere near made it, as what people think, I mean, for me, the idea of success is being able to do this full time. And I still have a job with Furtado's music, So, I mean, I don't regret anything that's happened. I'm very happy with where the band has come in 15 years, but still a long way to go. And I think, a lot of bands will have to learn from their own experiences, There's only so much you can learn from other people, I mean, obviously, yes, try and not make the mistakes that we made. But every band has to start from scratch and just work its way up.
There are many people out there who think metal is all about Satanism or devil or evil things. So what according to you metal is? I mean, what's your say on that?
For me, metal is a genre of music that can often be more than just music to people, I think it connects with you on a deeper level. It kind of makes you feel like you belong. And it's a lifestyle at the end of the day. At least that's what it is for me, I live and breathe metal, Statements like all metal is satanic. I mean, it's as ill-informed as someone saying all Muslims are terrorists. It's stupid, People are who they are. Metal is a form of music and a lifestyle some people follow. Yes, there are bands that sing about Satan. There are bands that are anti-religious or anti-Christ. And sometimes it's with good reason, It's always about understanding what is going on. And to be very honest, apart from the Norwegian black metal movement where some church burning was taking place, there are no real violent metal groups. I mean, you don't see metal bands being arrested for murders these days,
Yes, of course.
That was a different time, that was a different movement, Organized religion has many evils, and metal just basically puts the truth out in front of you in a lot of different ways about a lot of different things in life, So yes, religious fanatics can go over the top. I mean, you look at it this way, Slayer sings about so many things, but they're all devout Christians, So it's unique to each band, I would say, And also Satanism is a very misunderstood term.
Yeah.
A lot of people have no clue what it's actually about, because there are different kinds of Satanists, there is different sects of Satanism, and I would just encourage anyone who doesn't know about it to just use Google and just, don't take my word for it, read up on your own and see what it actually says, A lot of people misinterpret things that are said by, religion or anything that is an organized form of thought. So it's up to people to sort of make their own decision.
Metalheads are often being accused of drugs, smoking and drinking. So what's your say on that?
Doing drugs and smoking and drinking, that has nothing to do with the genre of music. If you look at the percentage of people who smoke in the world, there are probably way more people who don't listen to metal who smoke, or do drugs for that matter, or drink and are alcoholics. It's just the way the world is. I think metalheads just are more open about what they do. I think they are, they're not one to hide what they're doing. So I guess maybe that being so vocal is what gives people, the wrong idea. And often metalheads have tattoos, piercing, they like to dress in black. Not all, but there are a large amount of metalheads that do that.
Yeah.
And obviously for somebody who's a so-called normal person, that looks a bit odd,
Yeah.
I mean, tomorrow, who's to say what is odd? If you're in a metal community tomorrow, if you're at a metal show and you go to the metal show in a pink t-shirt, you are the odd one out,
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's just the context of which things are seen in, So I think it's just people have the wrong notion about a lot of things. And honestly, I personally don't care. I think everyone should just go and do what they want to do. As long as you're a good human being, that is the most important thing.
Perfectly right.
With metalheads, yes, there are, some metalheads who, and I understand where they come from. A lot of metalheads feel very excommunicated because, I have heard this while growing up. A lot of people say, oh yeah, I love all kinds of music except heavy metal. So metalheads, yes, sometimes they are a little aggressive, they get a little defensive about their music, but that's only because they're very passionate about it.
There are many bands out there which are really good. Still they are not able to garner success. What is the reason?
See, with a band's success, there are too many factors in play. The first factor is, is honestly, what is the band doing musically that is actually good, A lot of people connect with bands sometimes more than just the music, it's the fact that they like something about it. It's just seeing them live, you know. It may not even be a great band, but you connect with it because of many reasons apart from the actual music, you know. So you have to really evaluate how good is the band actually. Like, I know when DR was not a great band live, we were loose, our songs were a little amateurish, we still had fans because they connected with DR on some other level, you know. And for them, I think it was something nice that nobody else got our music. They liked the fact that only the 50 or 100 of them understood what DR was trying to say with the music, you know. And had we taken that as the word and said, okay, we don't need to improve, we would never get anywhere. And I think bands need to evaluate themselves very honestly, you know. Also, what are you doing musically that is so great, you know? If you sound like Slayer or Machine Head, you may be awesome, but the world already has a Slayer and a Machine Head.
It's the point.
So how unique is your band, you know? What are you doing differently? How good is your stage show? How good are you on your instrument? You know, how good are you as a band? How many albums do you have out? How many songs do you have out? How many people have you been able to connect with your music? There is so much that goes into being a band beyond just good music.
Yeah.
You know, how hard have you really worked, you know? So all these questions have to be answered by bands themselves, and they need to do it honestly, you know.
Okay.
So I don't think any band has not achieved their potential, because if they have actually been working towards their potential, they probably have reached it, you know.
Okay.
And also, yes, sometimes there are things like luck. It is being in the right place at the right time, you know. A great example is Sky Harbor.
Yeah, seriously.
A brilliant band, amazing musicians, great songs, and playing the right style of music at the right time, you know. So, you know, all these factors make a very big difference.
What according to you is important for a band's success?
The first thing I think anyone needs to understand is, what is your definition of success? Every person's definition of success is different. In my mind, to be a good band, you basically need to master your instrument, you need to practice regularly, and you need to have a great stage show.
So what are other genres of music you listen to except metal when you are touring or when you are free?
I haven't been listening to too much music, to be very honest, of the last 2 or 3 years, because I've been making so much music. So when I'm not making music, I actually just want a break. But you know, I do love a lot of the music from the 80s and 90s, a lot of retro pop.
Yes.
I even like some old techno still, you know, like the Mortal Kombat theme song and 2 Unlimited. I mean, I don't listen to these on a regular basis, but once in a while in the morning, put it on YouTube, just, you know. And I like a lot of alternative stuff also, but again, it's more like songs here and there, bands like Bush, Pearl Jam, REM, and more recently I've discovered bands like 30 Seconds to Mars and stuff like that. So I do enjoy a wide variety of music, but mostly in the rock, metal, alternative space.
Okay.
So here we go. It was an amazing indie talk with Sahil Makhija. All thanks to him.